What's going on, everyone? It's Mike. Today we're talking about the 2018 iPad Pro, and putting some of those wacky rumors to rest, I'm going to tell you what Apple's going to release. Let's get started. So the first rumor is that the iPad Pro will ditch Lightning in favor of USB Type-C. The rumor suggests that this is a full I/O change, not just updating one side of the cable to be USB-C that plugs into the wall adapter. So let me walk you through my thought process on why this is inconceivable. So today, Apple does not sell any USB Type-C cables that support power and charging. All of the cables that they're selling in their store today are for charging only. It would require Apple either A, to sell a new set of cables, which, I mean, they could sell cables, right? They do that all the time. Or B, issue a software update to the existing set of cables to support both power and charging. Another interesting point here is that if Apple were to move from Lightning to USB Type-C, this would relinquish Apple's control on enforcing HDCP, which is digital copyright protection, which they do today over Lightning. There are no known implementations of HDCP running on USB Type-C. So that would mean that's a technical challenge that Apple would have to solve prior to doing so. I think of the mindset, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And number three is that it creates challenges with front and back end support. The goal would be to remove the number of variables or the outside variables to the greatest extent as possible, and then control the variables that cannot be removed. So we see that Apple doing this today with software and a hardware perspective. You want to eliminate all the outside variables, or as many outside variables as possible, and then control the ones that cannot be removed. As we know, Apple's never shied away from implementing new technologies that surprise and delight their customers. We witnessed Apple introduce the 64-bit architecture in the mobile space, with the introduction of Touch ID, and finally with Face ID. I believe that Apple views Lightning as a core technology and something that differentiates Apple from other device OEMs. This is really the gateway into the customer's device, and Apple wants to control this as much as possible. I mean, these are the exact same reasons why Apple has the Made for iPhone program, where it makes sure that every accessory that connects to the iPhone has gone through a certification. This would be no different. Not that Apple could not expand that program to include USB Type-C, but there's going to be a lot more customer frustration in the existing set of cables that they have, right? If it wasn't already MFI, they plug it into the phone and now it doesn't work. And the fifth reason is that Apple doesn't traditionally start with rolling out new technologies. With the iPad, they normally start with the iPhone itself, and then those technologies will then kind of trickle down to the other devices over the course of the next year to 18 months. And not to say that Apple could surprise us all and I could be eating crow, but I wouldn't expect it to start with the iPad. Based on that thought process, I do not believe that Apple is ditching the Lightning connector in favor of USB Type-C. Instead, I think Apple will release a new Lightning to USB-C dongle, #DongleLife, that has Lightning plugging into the device, it has USB Type-C out, and it also supports Lightning charging. This is an accessory that wouldn't be specific to the iPad Pro. This would be able to be used in all of the different iOS devices that are out today, I think specifically the iPhone 8 and above, and it is a feature in 12.1, which we've already heard from a number of various developers that have been digging through the code. So, need a break for coffee. London, great city. So this is where the argument that Apple's going to release a USB Type-C iPad is going to fall down, and I'm going to crush your dreams. I'm sorry, let's just say that in advance. Just about any use case that you can think of that requires the device to output a video signal over an internal interface is going to require power. And if it's requiring power, that means you need a dongle. The next rumor is that the iPad Pro will ditch Touch ID in favor of Face ID. This will allow for a stronger biometric authentication for the user, and then also I think it kind of further cements all of their user into the iOS/Apple ecosystem. The next rumor is that whether Face ID will support portrait and landscape orientation. So I don't think it's a question of whether the device will be able to unlock whether you're holding the device vertically or horizontally. I think it's a question of how they're solving that problem. right? Are they solving the problem by implementing two true depth sensors? I think not. I think they're going to use one sensor, and that sensor is going to somehow capture additional information when you are enrolling your face, and from there, that's how it's going to unlock your device. Similar to the unlocking experience today, where the user rotates their head around, and there might be an additional step in the enrollment process where the device changes orientations, and then they enroll the device that way, or they enroll the Face ID that way. So the next rumor is that the dock connector, which was previously located on the bottom of the iPad, has been moved to the back of the iPad near where the charger plugs in. So this might make sense based on the renders that we've seen so far and how thin the device is. There might be some additional support, and which would then require the keyboard cover to be extended up the back of the iPad. Apple will release a new version of the Apple Pencil. It will ditch the pairing process that exists today for the Apple Pencil, where you have to plug it into the device, in favor of a wireless pairing similar to what you see on HomePod and AirPods. Given how long it's been since the Apple Pencil was introduced, I think a refresh version is imminent. I do think that this is the most appropriate time to do so. So I think it's important to note that if the Apple Pencil is released, all right, it's not going to have USB-C either, because it would need to charge through the device as it does today, which is Lightning. And the last rumor is the naming convention. So will Apple continue to use the iPad Pro as a moniker to identify these devices, or will they drop it in favor of iPad Pro 10R or iPad Pro 10? I, for one, think that Apple will continue to use the iPad Pro name as it separates itself from its sibling, and many consumers are familiar with the iPad Pro brand. The iPad Pro brand continues to differentiate itself from its little brother by having such pro-level features as the detachable keyboard, the high-density display, and ProMotion. So there you have it, folks, my rundown of all the Apple rumors. We're going to know more on October 30th, as Apple has just announced their next event at the Brooklyn Academy of Music Howard Gilman Opera House. Can't wait to find out what actually happens. So I'm going to turn it back to you. What has you most excited about the new iPad Pro, if at all anything? Maybe you're thinking, hey, I want to get the new Pixel Slate. Let me know in the comments below. Why don't you go ahead and drop a like on the video if you want to see more content like this, and consider subscribing